y'all, and welcome to the Healthy by Heather Brown podcast, where I encourage you in healthy mind, body, and spirit through my Sunday reset. Let's get into it. Hey, girl gang, and welcome back to another episode of Healthy by Heather Brown. Today, we have the distinct delight of having on Dr. Belinda Palmer, who is, y'all, the co-owner and manager of Archetype Health. If you've been around here for long, you know that her husband, Dr. John Palmer, is my chiropractor and also my naturopath, and I have known them since I was pregnant with Finn and coming into their practice. And so you've heard Dr. John several times on the podcast, and I can link back to those episodes. This season, specifically about kids' health, he was on the Dr. Morley episode, which I can also link back to in the show notes. But Dr. Belinda is a chiropractor with a specialty in developmental neuroscience based on the, and she'll have to correct me when she comes on if I'm saying this right or not, on the Malilo method. She is also certified in the Webster technique and a certified Erland syndrome screener. She's a wife and also a mother of 3 kids. And when she isn't working, she loves reading books and coloring books. And so with all that said, first question, Dr. Belinda, did I butcher that name?
So it's Dr. Malilo.
Dr. Malilo. Okay, learned something new already.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on here. I'm really excited. Yeah, his name's Dr. Malilo, and it's a neurodevelopmental approach to functional neurology, neuroscience.
So cool.
It's fun. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing. And y'all, Dr. Belinda and I were talking about this before we hit the record button, but I was telling her that every time I go into Dr. John's office and I get the pleasure of talking with her just in brief little moments while I'm waiting in between appointments or when we're talking at the front desk, I always learn so much when I'm talking to her just about like kids' brain development, or like I love hearing how she handles screen time with her kids. And she really is specialized on things like ADD and ADHD. And I know that that's something that really is becoming, unfortunately, more and more prevalent in our kids. So I was so excited when I found out I'd get to have her on this season, specifically to talk about kids' health. So with all that said, Dr. Belinda, will you share with us just a little bit about ADD, ADHD? Why is it becoming more common? And what are some of the symptoms or things that you look for in kids when you first hear that they might be struggling with that?
So I have lots of theories on why it's becoming more common, and that's kind of like your own little rabbit hole there. But my biggest thing of reasons why I think it's becoming more common, I think that we're moving less, that our food is less nutritious, more toxic, that the environment is more toxic. And then also, I think a lot of it too has to do with jaw development and our ability to breathe like we were meant to breathe, and for our brain to essentially get the oxygen that it needs. So those are the main reasons why I think. There's also, different genes like the MSTHR gene. I probably slaughtered that. I always think it looks like mother something.
It does. It totally does.
But obviously there's some genes in there, and people can't detoxify well. But I definitely think it has to do with how we're eating, how we're moving or not moving. We have all these convenient devices now to help us with our kids. And that's a whole nother thing, because I think mothers have way too much on their plate. But yeah, so that's kind of why I think it's on the rise. I think we're not moving like we should. I think we're not eating what we should. I think the air is not as clean as it used to be. We're in artificial light all day. I was watching the 2022-23 symposium on mitochondria, and someone said we are light deficient. I had never heard that before. In depth in how we're light deficient. So we're not getting the light that we need to develop like we're supposed to. So there's just a lot of different factors, but I think a lot of it is just everything is becoming so artificial now that we're not developing like we were meant to develop.
Absolutely. And I will say that I think you and I have briefly talked about this before, but just for your reference, I have actually had on another chiropractor this season, and I've talked with Dr. Dan Sullivan and Dr. Tony Ebel, and they have specifically brought up the Flexner report and just talked some about vaccines and those kind of things. Unfortunately, I think that what I have researched, that there may even be some kind of potential things there that we are also inundating our systems as kids, and that there obviously the vaccine schedule now is way heavier now than what it was when you and me were kids even, which is wild. But I think that when you say some of those things as moms, we're like, yeah, that is a lot. And I can feel it in my own system. So this is kind of a practical question, but I always get people asking me this when Dr. John comes on too. So I'm going to ask you because you're the mom, and I feel like as the mom, you kind of wear this hat as like you are kind of in charge of all the things that are coming in and out of your home and the way that your family functions and all those kind of things. And I feel like you do such a good job of balancing all the things, even though it's really hard. So what does a day-to-day like rhythm look like in the Palmer household where you're trying to get your kids away from maybe plastics and the screens and get real light? Like, do you mind walking us through like a morning to evening typical day for you guys?
Oh, it changes so much on a regular basis. And it kind of depends on like what thing we're into at the moment. Because there are so many awesome therapies and modalities out there. One thing I'll say is movement is really important in our house. So like going for walks with the dogs, all of us do karate.
I didn't know that. That's so fun. Oh my gosh. So do y'all all go to the same classes?
No. Okay. So my daughter goes to one karate studio.
Okay.
And then the rest of us go to another karate studio. My boys go to the same class. John's not going at the moment, but he does go. But John goes to like a lunch class. I go to an evening class. So one thing, this is completely off topic, but kind of not. And we might go into primitive reflexes later and I'll explain it more, but I never really liked to exercise ever. It was always like very much a chore for me. And then once I found karate, which is only like 2 years ago, and I'm 42, right? So like I've gone up and down with exercising my whole entire life, just always never really liked it. I love karate. Like I look forward to going to karate. I don't know why, but
that's so fun.
It's for people that, if they're in their 40s and they're like, I still hate exercising, just keep looking. You might find something.
I so agree. And I talk about that all the time, that exercise is not meant to be something that you hate doing, because if you hate it, you're not going to stick with it. So I think that's so cool that you found something so off the wall that, like you said, still gets your body moving, but you love it. So that's all that really matters.
Yeah, I love it. So
that's amazing.
So we do karate. My daughter does dance, ballet. It's just Bollywood dancing too. So we all do movement. And then my husband usually on the weekends will take our oldest son mountain biking. So they're always mountain biking. I guess in the morning we get up, we eat breakfast. My kids are kind of sick of eggs right now. So they're getting bacon and fruit.
Okay.
But they do that really, really well. So they get bacon and fruit. We're not completely gluten-free in our house, but we try to be. And I think part of the reason why we're not completely gluten-free in our house is because, especially like for our kids that are in school, it's impossible to monitor everything that they get. Because we could try, but then they can buy stuff at the school and you just get a bill for it. Did you know that? Like they'll buy stuff and you just get a bill.
Yeah, you don't even know what it is.
But you get a bill. And I'm just like, but they didn't have money in their account. How did they buy things?
So wild.
But anyhow, then I pay the bill and then they just do it again.
We have this whole discussion about, please don't get a treat unless it's Friday. Like on Friday, you can get a treat. But if I get a bill and you can't tell me what you bought that wasn't a treat, we're going to have a talk.
That's good. When Owen was in public school, like he'd be like, it's free, Mom. I'm like, it's not free. But he would insist that it was free. I'm like, no, I am paying for this. Like, it's not free, buddy. But they trade food, right? Like we would get, there's these things called Giggles that we get in front instead of Skittles. They're called Giggles and they're organic and they don't have all the food dyes in them. And we would get them for Owen and he would get so excited. And we found out he got so excited because he'd trade them for other things.
Oh my gosh, shut up.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
Trying to be conscious about what we feed our kids, but we're not like, I don't know, we're not super, super strict on it just because we know one, like they can get it somewhere else and we need them to have a healthy relationship with food. So in our house, if you go into our pantry is pretty much all organic.
Okay.
No dyes, very minimally processed stuff. For lunches, typically it's going to be like that more like it'll be more of that processed stuff though, because there's only so much you can put in a lunch and have them take to school unless you have them buy the school lunch, which I don't really trust that food. So I mean, they do have like, like we have greater evil popcorn that my son eats. We'll get him applesauce pouches, things like that.
Yes.
But it's still processed, right? It still has
Sure.
preservatives in it. And then when they get home, they usually have a snack. It could be fruit. It could be, every once in a while, it's a pizza from Whole Foods. They love that. They love when they get that. And then for dinner, it's always meat. So we almost always grill something. It's meat. And then it's usually raw fruits and raw vegetables.
Okay. I love this.
For a while, they were getting like egg pastas and stuff like that. But then when we realized if we just put the raw vegetables out there, they would eat it. So we just cut up raw vegetables, and it's not hard. It's fast, and you can honestly like pre-do it.
Yeah, totally. Well, I love that tip. And I will say the same thing. I feel like if we're putting out carrots, broccoli, and I mean, I know that ranch is not the healthiest, but a lot of times if you put out like a sauce with it, they're more likely to eat it or what have you.
Oh, yeah.
But I love hearing how y'all are doing this. And I will link up is it called Lesser Evil popcorn? Is that right? Okay. Yeah. I'll link that on Amazon too. And also the Giggles, because I did not know about that. So, and Leyton loves Skittles. And I'm like, always like, I just think about all the like red Daff-40 and everything that he's ingesting. And I'm like, I actually think this is probably the worst candy we could eat. So to know about the Giggles, that's huge.
Yeah.
So will you talk a little bit about this is a big question that I got asked to talk about this season. I feel like you're the perfect person to talk about it. Do you give your kids supplements? And if so, which ones do you trust to not have fillers and those kind of things in it and that they would receive well in their body?
Okay. So we do give our kids supplements. This is hard for me to tell people because I am super lucky and my kids will swallow the big pills. Right?
What?
Yeah. Yeah, they
will. Even Josie, your youngest?
Oh, yeah. So
she's 6, like a fresh 6, because she's Ben's age.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, so this is like if you have young kids and you give them fish oil early on. So one of the things we give them is fish oil. But if you give them fish oil early on, they will just drink it, right? So you have to do it early on so they get used to it. But they'll just drink it. And like part of that, like Dr. John, he lived in Iceland for a while and they just eat like fish sticks and stuff. And like, so he saw them do that.
Sure.
So essentially like we did it with our kids. So
you would just suck it up in a syringe when they were kids and just pop it in the back of their throat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a favorite brand of fish oil you like for kids?
So we use Nordic Naturals for our kids. We've tried a couple different brands, but they like Nordic Naturals. And before they could swallow it, they would actually like we get the capsules and they'd pop it in their mouth and they would just chew it.
Oh,
but they were used to the flavor. And so if you do it early on, usually they actually like the flavor. Okay. So that's why I say like early on. If it's later, I mean, sometimes you can do it. Sometimes you can't. I know Nordic Natural has gummies. They're probably a little more processed, but they do have gummies where you can get it and that.
So you think fish oil is a must pretty much for kids if they'll take it? Mm-hmm. That's like a baseline what you want them having.
Yeah. And they've had studies, and I'll see if I can't, they're out there, but I'll see if I can't find this like a study so that you have something to reference where it's giving kids high dose fish oil and it's helped a lot with ADHD symptoms.
What? That's amazing. Yes, please send me that study after the show. I'll link it in the show notes. That's great. Okay. So what other supplements would you say that y'all prioritize for your kids?
The other one that we usually give them on a regular basis is D3 with K2. And there's a company called Pure Synergy that we get that from.
Okay.
Pure Synergy is fantastic. They have a really, really great farm. It's a really good company.
Now, I know because Dr. John has all of his patients that are in his nutritional program do fish oil and the D3 plus K2. So I'm taking it too. But tell people that are listening, why wouldn't you just take a store-bought regular vitamin D and just like as quick as you can, just in case they're like, well, what is that for? What are my kids taking it for?
Well, your kids are taking it for, long story, is to help with hormones because you need vitamin D for hormones and cholesterol and stuff like that. So that's essentially why you're taking it. And also, like, you need sunlight, but we're not getting the sunlight that we used to. The reason why you want to have a good quality is because a lot of times if you go to a store-bought place, one, like it's not regulated, so you may not even be getting what you think you're getting. And sometimes it's rancid. Dr. Morley, who was on here before, like, if you read his book, he talks about a lot of times it being rancid and like having third parties check it to make sure it's a good quality source.
Okay.
But yeah, like if you don't know the brand that you're using, I mean, you may not even be getting vitamin D. So
wow. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the K2 paired with it is to help it absorb better. Is that right or no?
It's got a synergistic effect.
Okay. Okay, cool. So D3 and K2, fish oil. What else we got?
So honestly, I would say those are the two biggest ones.
Okay.
And then from there, I mean, it's kids, right? So like you can go in other directions, but it really just becomes more specific at that point.
Okay.
I would say those are the most general.
For kids that are diagnosed or thinking that they might be ADD or ADHD, is there anything in particular that you would say that those kids should either take or not take? Because I think a lot of moms of those kids are going to be tuning into this episode specifically. If you are loving everything you're hearing here in this episode about mind, body, and spirit health, how they're all interconnected, my tested and proven Sunday reset method, and leaving a healthy legacy for your kids, you need to join the Healthy by Heather Brown membership. It's a community of like-minded women seeking the Lord and better health with weekly resources where I get to personally cheer you on. You get 7 days free to test it out. Link to join in the show notes or go to healthybyheatherbrown.com.
Okay, so first off, I'm going to say that John is definitely the nutrition person, right?
Sure.
Definitely the nutrition person. But like, I don't know anyone that doesn't need vitamin D or omega-3s, right?
Okay, yeah.
And omega-3s is your fish oil, just in case people don't know that.
Yes.
I would say definitely those ones. And then, like, obviously you want to support your energy systems and your detoxification systems. It just really depends on what's going on with that individual. So, I mean, it might be glutathione, it might be, glutathione, nitric oxide. So it really depends on the individual.
Okay.
Methylene blue is a big one that really helps with energy systems. And then people that have bacteria or fungus or mold, that one's a really good one to look into. That is synthetic. So if someone isn't into synthetics, like that's something that you would be into, but
so
it is
you said
actually
glutathione, and what was the other one you said?
What did I say? I said glutathione and nitric oxide. And so nitric oxide is really good for supporting energy pathways. So glutathione is really good for energy pathways, but also for detoxification.
Okay, perfect. And then Dr. Belinda, I feel like you're just so knowledgeable in this area too. Are there any foods that, like you and I hinted at, that it's probably not best to have gluten when you can avoid it with your kids, and probably not best to do the artificial colors like the Skittles, like you were saying, for kids, especially with ADD or ADHD, those kind of things? Is there anything else that you would say specifically that if you can avoid it in their food, that it's better?
Well, okay. So, and this is so hard because like we live in such a fast like world, and like, especially as a mom, you don't have a lot of time. Right?
So true. Yes.
So, honestly, like John, because John does most of the cooking in my house. So I'm kind of lucky there. He went to culinary school, so he's a good cook.
Eric does most of the cooking in our house. I plan and shop and he cooks.
Yeah. John loves to be in a grocery store. He'll spend like an hour and a half in there. I can't do that.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't do that. So he usually does the grocery shopping. But like you want to stay on the outside of the store, right? Where you have like your fresh vegetables, your fruit, if you do dairy, your dairy's out there, your meat's out there. It's just all of your fresh foods are on the outside of the store. And then your more processed foods are in the middle of the store. And so essentially you just want to stay away from the processed foods, but that's hard because those are the easy foods, right? Yeah. If you ever notice when they discount foods, it's the stuff in the middle of the store. It's the processed foods that they discount. It's not, you'll find sales outside, but like they don't really discount them and do coupons like they do the processed stuff. So it's hard
true.
Because it like shopping on the outside of the store, it's more expensive and it's more time consuming. But one thing that John and I have done that has made it a lot easier with our kids is instead of like cooking vegetables or like making fancy things with rich, we keep it simple and we just cut it up and they eat it.
Yeah,
like,
that's amazing.
Not eat it raw. So, and if it's raw, then they have more nutrients still in them. So.
Yes. And I will say, as a former couponer and like major deal shopper, that one of my favorite hacks for eating healthier on a budget is to shop at Sprouts Farmers Market, because the amount of manager special markdowns that they do and their clearance room and the way that they clearance meats and dairy products, if you do dairy, and butter and eggs, blows my mind. So I feel like I am now eating probably the healthiest I've ever eaten, the highest quality food, but I'm getting it for like a quarter of the price of what I'd pay for it at Publix or another grocery store. So that's kind of a pro tip for you. And then also, I know not everybody
That's
has
awesome.
Sprouts. Yeah, it really is so
Oh,
great.
yeah.
If y'all haven't been to ours, you need to go. And then Aldi has done a really good job of kind of turning over and doing more organic and gluten-free options, which is a really great budget buy as well. So, Dr. Belinda, I'm freaking out because we are quickly running out of time. And I'm like, we have not even gotten into a lot of the stuff I wanted to. But in wrap up, is there anything that you would say? Because initially you talked about, you want to try to detox as much as possible. You want to try to not get as much artificial light, that people can be light deficient. It's so important to move. And we've kind of talked about that you need to be, and you alluded to the breathing and your jaw. So I'm going to link back down in the show notes to the episode that we did about breathing, because I really referenced Dr. Belinda a lot before that episode too. We totally geeked out on breathing and jaw structure. So I'll link back to that episode as well. But is there anything else in your day-to-day life that you have switched out for you and your family, like to get away from plastics, or that you like love doing this thing where y'all get up and get out in the sunlight a certain amount, or do you limit screen time? Like just maybe even like a 2-minute, like quick soundbite of anything else that we're forgetting that you do day-to-day that you think is important.
Okay, so this has helped a lot for us, and it may not help with everyone, but we have a Skylight calendar, and on that Skylight calendar, you can have chores. And so all of our kids have chores, and they know that they can't even ask for screen time until all of their chores are done, right? And there's family chores, there's individual chores, and for them to even ask for it, they have to have their chores done, and they have to have the family chores must be done, and their chores must be done. And even then, we try, some nights we're just like, no, you can't, too much. But even then, we have a video game system. It's a Next Play that you did, and I'll tell them that they can play that. And that is a movement game. And oh my goodness, some of those games are so much fun, but they're full body movements. And my kids are laughing. And sometimes I'll be downstairs and they're upstairs, and it feels like there's an elephant upstairs because they're jumping and stomping so much.
It's so fun.
One thing that I do like to do, and sometimes I just watch a show, right? Sometimes I just need them here to do something, or maybe I need a moment. So it's not like they never get screen time. But what I try to do with my kids is if they're going to get screen time, I want them to move, right? And so that's one of the reasons why I really like that gaming system, is because they have to move, but they're entertained.
Yes.
And you can have more than one player. So I really, really do like that. And it's not expensive. It's actually pretty cheap. Christmas is coming too. So get for them for Christmas. I think it's $89.
Yes. And I'll link it in the show notes too. We loved it when we tried it out for sure. Okay. So now I'm going to transition you to talk about what you're passionate about, which is primitive reflexes, which I know that probably a lot of the people that hear this are going to be like, what does that even mean? So will you tell everybody a little bit about primitive reflexes and why you think parents should know about it?
Okay. Yeah. And I know we don't have a ton of time, so I will try not to go off on tangents with this, but this is my favorite topic, and I can talk all day about primitive reflexes. The primitive reflexes are reflexes that you're essentially born with. There are always exceptions, but generally you're born with them and you have them for the first year of life. So they're there to help you feed as a newborn, to help you get movement control as a newborn, to help your eyes start moving, to help you roll over, to get you to crawling. They're essentially to get you through what you need to get through in life until you're upright and walking and you have more cognitive, so more brain power to control your actual movements. And so they're extremely important. They're extremely important in developing your nervous system. But what I see every day when I evaluate a kid, or even I'm such a dork. I'm at the dojo and watching these kids do these moves, and I'm like, oh, they have an 18R, which is one of the primitive reflexes. But I'm looking at these kids moving, and I'm like, oh, there's one right there.
Wow.
But what I'm noticing, and they talk about a lot of this with the Melillo method, and then there's other people that work with primitive reflexes as well. But you're seeing it in these kids where they retain these reflexes that should have been inhibited, right? And so these reflexes are in the brainstem. They're inhibited by the cortex. So if they're still present, that means the cortex, the front part of the brain, or that higher level of brain, it's not inhibiting those reflexes, and so it's underdeveloped, right? Or it doesn't have the power to develop it. And so essentially, like you need to get rid of those reflexes to help strengthen the cortex so that the cortex can function and inhibit it. But also, if it's inhibiting the reflex, then it means that the cortex is more mature and can handle higher levels of thought, raising cognition, impulse control, focus, things like that.
So what might a parent notice or see that would make them be like, oh, wait, I need to listen to this because this might be my kid? Or like, what are you seeing at the dojo?
Well, I mean, at dojo, I'm seeing like they're turning their head to the side and I'm seeing their leg pop out, right? Or I'm just seeing different postural things pop out that let me know that they have these reflexes. But I can tell you a good story about my son, Maddie, or maybe I shouldn't say his name. I don't know. But my middle son, I think he was like 2.5. And I was learning about all this stuff and he wasn't saying more than 2 sentences at a time. And I was like, he has to have a rooting reflex. He has to have a rooting reflex. And I couldn't, I'd swipe his cheek. So you swipe the cheek and they turn and open up their mouth. So it's basically to help a baby nurse.
Right.
He's 2.5 and I'm not finding it. And then a colleague of mine showed me something where you use vibration to do it, which means he had low muscle tone if you need more stimulation to bring it out. So it just never actually got brought out. But anyhow, I used vibration on his cheek and I mean, his head turned, his mouth opened. And I was like, oh, wow, he has a rooting reflex. And so we worked on it for about 3 weeks every day, probably like 10, 15 minutes a day. So not a long time. And within 3 weeks, he was saying full on sentences where before he could only say 1 to 2 words.
Oh my word. Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. And he still went to speech therapy, right? So he still had some like speech stuff, but it was inhibiting him from really being able to talk. Wow. You'll see kids that have dyslexia, right? They'll typically have a retained 18R, which is an asymmetric tonic neck reflex. And it's when they turn their head, the way they turn their head, their arm extends, the other one flexes, and then where they turn their head, that leg flexes and the opposite leg extends. So it's a full body movement. But what also happens with this reflex is that when they turn their head, their eyes start off to the side.
Mm.
So for kids that are having problems reading or have this reflex, they will turn their head slightly with the page, but then their eyes start off to the side. So they'll have poor eye movement. Not only that, but because their eyes are darting off to the side, then their focus is changing, right? So they're not able to focus on things because their eyes are moving all over the place and their focus is going to where their eyes are moving. There's also...
is it sometimes even that kids that are struggling in school because they can't focus, is that sometimes related to primitive movement stuff or no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I see it all the time.
I'm sure you do. So what do most patients come to you and say, this is what we're seeing, can you help us? Like, what are like the most common cases?
I'd say the most common ones I have are going to be, like right now I have 2 nonverbal autistic kids. So a little bit more severe. But the other day I had someone with dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
I had undiagnosed that dyslexia growing up. So that one's, I feel like I attract that a lot.
Sure.
Just because that's something that's like near and dear to my heart. And, Dr. John, same way. So like if he's talking to someone and they mention dyslexia, like, oh, my child has dyslexia or something like that, or it's like, oh, go talk to Dr. Belinda. And then, I feel like I get a lot of those just because of like my personal experience and like my husband's experience too. So.
Totally. So if people are hearing this and they're like, whoa, like my kid has autism or has dyslexia, how do they go about getting in touch with you and seeing if you can help them?
So, I mean, obviously you can call the office and get an appointment. I do have an Instagram page, and on that page, I do show a lot of how to test for it, exercises to help inhibit it, symptoms, like a whole bunch of stuff on there. I really try to, because it can be overwhelming, right? It's a whole new thing, but I try to like break it down to bite-sized pieces to kind of like help people know like what they can do even on their own. Because I feel like sometimes you really need someone to give you a plan, right? But a lot of the stuff you have to do, if you want to inhibit them, you have to do it every day. And so you have to do it at home. And none of it's really hard to do at home. It's just the actual doing. And as a busy mom, adding one more thing is sometimes really hard.
Absolutely. So tell them what your Instagram is so they can find you, and then so I can link it down in the show notes.
It's Dr. Belinda Palmer, BC.
Perfect. BC stands for?
Doctor of Chiropractic.
Perfect. Oh, you said D, not B. Yeah, that's why I was like, what?
BC.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. And then Dr. Belinda, so do you do consulting? Like if somebody's listening to this in Iowa and they have a child with some of the severe stuff you're talking about, can they get help from you online?
Yeah. So I can do some stuff online. Sometimes depending on like the severity of the case, sometimes I can't do a whole lot, but I definitely know people like in different areas, and I can refer out if I need to.
Okay, amazing. Because I really do think some moms are going to listen to this and be like, wow, I didn't even know that was an option to get help in that way. So I think that's really incredible that you offer that. So, okay, cool. Well, I really appreciate you sharing all your wisdom today. And I'm going to ask you the final question that I ask everybody on the show. And that is, Dr. Belinda, how do you and your family reset?
Oh, goodness. So how, as individually or all together?
It's totally up to your interpretation. I just talk on here a lot of times about the Sunday reset, which is how you reset in mind, body, and spirit. And so I just love hearing every guest answers differently. And so that's why I love to ask.
Man, so I always say that we all get together and snuggle. Family snuggles are a big one.
That's sweet. Like in your bed, on the couch, while you're watching a movie, what's y'all's kind of like go-to?
In the bedroom.
Love it.
Everyone piles in and just, it usually only lasts for a couple of minutes because then someone's elbowing someone or someone's closer to mom or someone's closer to dad. That's a big one. One thing that we've also started doing too is we have access to a light bed and we'll put everyone in the light bed. And you would think that they wouldn't like to all be together in a light bed. Oh, John and I are in there, but all the kids are. And they'll just hang out in the light bed and it's hilarious.
That's hilarious. Wait, is that like a red light? Is that what it is?
Yep. It's a red light bed.
That's so cool. I didn't even know a red light bed existed. I'm like, that's new to me. Cool.
Yeah. They're out there. They look like tanning beds.
Uh-huh. Yeah. But it's red light.
But it's red light. I'll just throw them all in there and they love it. So.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, Dr. Belinda, thank you so much for your time today. It was a joy to have you on the show. And I'm like, there was still so much we left untouched that I feel like you'll just have to come back with Dr. John one day.
Okay.
Love it. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I do believe that this is actually going to be the last episode of this season on kids' health. So I hope that you really enjoyed getting to hear us talk about how to have healthier kids in mind, body, and spirit. And truly, I'm just so grateful that you've been tuning into this season and that you are also invested in having healthier kids. That is the future of our world. And I'm just so thankful that the Lord has gifted me with your listenership, and also just so grateful for all the amazing guests that have come on this season. So I can't wait to see you next season back here on the show. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time. All right, y'all. So I know that we're quickly coming to a close on our kids' health season and talking about them being healthy in mind, body, and spirit. And we've learned so much from chiropractors and authors and Defend Young Minds and just so many awesome things. But then I was like, Eric, I think that we should just bring a little reality, dose infusion in the marriage corner of, real life with parenting and kids. So I asked Eric to help me come up with and think of some of our funniest Leyton and Finn stories recently. Maybe we should name which kid it is on each one. What do you think?
Oh, we are definitely naming names. And I will just give a brief preview, though. A majority of these are Finn stories. And if you've heard Heather describe Finn, he's our youngest. Leyton is our oldest. He's 9 years old. And Leyton does have some great stories, but he's more of our empath. He, he's more sensitive, very thoughtful. Finn, not so much, but great stories. And, kind of like how you were talking about kids' health, I think one of the things that we can do that's very healthy in our lives is to laugh. And
so true.
I love to laugh at our children. We always tell them we're laughing with them, but in all honesty, sometimes we're laughing at them as well, too. So I think you do actually a great job. The kids do a great job of telling you a lot of the stories from school. You see them a lot of time after school. So this first one is actually a Leyton story, and I think this is my favorite story. So we'll start off with a bang, but maybe you can set the stage, and then I can fill in the details here and there.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. So, okay, I picked up Leyton the other day, and first of all, I guess the setup to the story is that Leyton is obsessed with Freckles, who is his leopard gecko. Okay, I've been begging for a dog from Eric for how many years we've been married now?
16 years.
16 years I've been begging for a dog, but Leyton asked one time for a leopard gecko, and Eric let him get that. So I'm not sure what that says about our marriage, but anyway, so Leyton has this leopard gecko. He's completely obsessed with it. And he asked his teacher, all the things, could he bring Freckles to school? And the teacher, I felt like, kind of just kept passing the ball, back to me. Well, why don't you ask your mom? And then she was like, well, we'd have to ask the principal. And so Leyton was like, Mommy, can you please ask the principal? So sure enough, we get approval. We find out what day we got to bring Freckles. We put Freckles in a little carrying case. It's not her normal cage. Maybe you can describe that a little bit.
I mean, yeah, it's just your typical little cage for a leopard gecko. Very small, plastic. It's got some vents in the top. No big deal. But I will say, just kind of to reemphasize, Leyton was persistent. Every day for 2 weeks, one of the other kids, I think, brought in a pet or something. And from that moment on, he was set on bringing Freckles. And I'll give him credit. Like I said, he was persistent. And he was going to get Freckles to school. So after all the approvals, all going around in circles, finally, today is the day Leyton gets to bring Freckles to school.
So, Leyton brings Freckles to school in this plastic container that is not her normal cage. And I pick him up that day from school, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how was it bringing Freckles to school? And Leyton goes, well, she did get lost. I said, what?
Well, and also, mind you, this is not the first time Freckles has been lost in a unfamiliar environment. So when we first got Freckles, Leyton loved to take Freckles to outside, and which was dangerous as well, too. We thought he was going to be lost, and if that was the case, so be it. But one of his good friends 2 doors down, Leyton, I don't even remember if he asked us, but he took Freckles out of his cage, took him down to our neighbor's house, and he was down there for maybe an hour to 2 hours, and we get a call from the mom. And she says, hey, Freckles is lost in our house. And we're like, what? She's like, yeah, do you mind coming down and helping look for him? Thankfully, long story short, we moved a couple couches in the kids' playroom. He was hiding behind in a corner. We found him. But so this is not the first time Freckles has been lost, but Freckles got lost in school, which was a concern.
Very big concern. So I said, what do you mean? What happened? And he said, well, everybody had been looking at Freckles all day, and we were very excited, and we left and we went to PE, and we came back. I went to check on Freckles in the cage that the teacher had set in the sunlight so she could get her son up, I guess, on like a desk or something by the window, and she wasn't there, Mommy. So I was like, wait, you've been gone at that point, probably for 45 minutes? So Freckles could have been anywhere, in the classroom, the school. I don't know. Did they shut the door? So apparently the teacher and all the kids are like tearing Leyton's classroom up, trying to find it. So I guess somehow the teacher looked in this little area that was a crevice underneath the desk that she had been set on in the sun. And Freckles had found some sand in the classroom that had been set up. And so praise the Lord, they found Freckles. Leyton got her. They put it back in the cage. And I thought this was hilarious. Leyton's teacher said, well, I guess while we were at recess, Freckles also wanted to take a break. And so she went to the beach today, down in the sand.
So, yes, I think she handled that very well. I'm not sure if we would have been allowed to come back to the school if Freckles was not found. That would have been probably went on our permanent record, not Leyton's permanent record. But anyways, one of those classic stories I think we'll always remember. Another story, our second story, this is a Finn story. And this also happened at school. And this involves Finn getting in trouble. And this is kind of a brief story, but maybe you can tell again, Heather, what had happened with Finn. Or we always ask our kids, what was your high of the day? What was your low? And what was your buffalo? And your buffalo is kind of like your funny moment or something that stood out in your day. So Heather was asking this question to Finn, and yes.
Yeah. So Finn goes, well, I know my low. And I was like, oh gosh, well, that's not usually a good sign when your kid says they know their low first, And so he says, it was recess. And I kind of look at Leyton, look at Eric, and I'm like, normally that's your high. So what happened? And he goes, well, I had to walk some laps. I said, oh, did you walk laps just today? And he goes, well, and yesterday too. And I said, wait, Finn, do you walk laps almost every day at recess? He said, yes.
And mind you, these laps are not for physical fitness. These are disciplinary laps. But I can just see him when he was telling Heather this story, just a matter of factly, yes, laps every day, probably multiple laps if I had to guess. Now, to be fair, he did say other kids had to walk laps. He even said, I think the entire class had to walk a lap, which I fully support this method of teaching and discipline. Coaching 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds in soccer, there's this massive hill. And if the kids aren't listening, I'm like, all right, run the hill. And so unfortunately, I think they actually enjoy running the hill. It's not really a punishment towards them. So I'm not really sure how that's working. But anyways, Finn's been walking a lot of laps, and I think he might actually be enjoying it.
Well, actually, I think it's really cool because remember back in the day, I feel like when you got in trouble, you had to sit out at recess.
Yeah,
so at least now they're keeping him active.
Yeah, you had to sit on the wall.
Watch all your friends play.
Watch all your friends play. We also had a disciplinary thing where you had red strips if you were like in big trouble, yellow strips if you were close to getting in big trouble, and if you're green, you're good to go. I'm trying to think of some other like disciplinary methods in school. Obviously, you had detention, which I was never fortunate enough to go to detention. In school suspension for the really crazy kids. So,
did you ever get called to the principal's office, Eric?
Yeah, but only for good things.
Like what? I've never heard of that before.
I mean, like, Eric, we just want to come congratulate you on being such a great student, that kind of stuff.
Are you serious?
Not really. But I will say my mom was always in with the principal and the teachers and everything like that. So she was always hanging around. And so, nothing too crazy, but never for disciplinary action that I can remember.
Can I tell you the one time I got called to the principal's office? Do you know the story?
I don't believe so.
So I went to a small Christian school, and dancing was described by a teacher as help me get this right, a vertical expression of a horizontal desire.
Something. Yeah.
So, wow to that, first of all. Wow. So not even at school, but after, I think it was like a homecoming, game and dinner, because we certainly didn't dance, obviously. Somebody had us over to their house for a party, and I, God forbid, danced. And so I got submitted to the principal to discipline. And I was just like, I can't believe that I am in trouble for dancing in high school, not even on campus. But it's okay. I'm going to let it, water under the bridge, roll on.
And I think we have some more stories of Leyton and Finn, but I think we'll just do one more for this podcast. And this one stood out to me and kind of hit home personally. And it involves Finn's sleeping habits. Finn is a very active sleeper. A lot of times, we'll put him down to bed, and then for at least 30, 45 minutes, we'll hear him upstairs walking around, flushing the toilet. You'll hear games going off, music playing in his room. You never really know what's going on. But a lot of times, sometimes we'll hear him just making weird noises, and we've always suspected that he talks in his sleep. And I went to bed early one night, or I think I fell asleep on the couch, and Heather the next morning said, "Did you wake up and did you hear Finn last night screaming?" And I was like, no, I was out. And somebody who grew up, I think maybe you had these as well too, but I think both you and I had night terrors, which if anyone's ever had night terrors, the way I describe it to people, it's basically you wake up and you're in a nightmare. You can be up walking around, but you can't snap out of it. It's like you're living in a bad dream. And yeah, they were terrible. And usually I would get them when I was sick or had a high fever when I was a kid. I kind of grew out of it. I would say maybe around age 14 or things of that nature. But this night, Finn apparently was yelling at the top of his lungs, "Leyton, Leyton." And so Heather told me she went up to check on him and kind of, didn't want to startle him and kind of rubbed on his back a little bit. And maybe you can start and fill in the details what happened after that.
Yeah, so he's screaming at Leyton. And so initially I thought, well, shoot, he keeps talking about Leyton. Maybe Leyton actually did sneak in his bedroom and is like, I don't know, messing with him. But sure enough, Finn's asleep. And then he kind of like sits up and y'all, he started crying. And it just broke my heart. He was crying and being like, Leyton, stop. And so I'm like rubbing his back. And then he was like, stop. Like he didn't want me rubbing his back. So then I was like, okay, I'm just going to sing Jesus Loves Me to him. So I started singing Jesus Loves Me. And then he actually kind of started singing with me a little bit. And then he started saying, Mommy, my throat hurts. It just hurts. And then he like broke down in tears again. And it literally like ripped my mommy heart apart.
Yeah. Eventually he went back to bed and Heather asked him, hey, buddy, do you remember me coming upstairs and you yelling out Leyton's name and you saying your throat hurts? Nope. Don't remember any of it. And he was fine the next morning. And so I don't know if it was a night terror or just a bad dream, but these kind of things happen, I would say, once every few months with Finn. And so we'll see what happens, as he gets older, but it's never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. And I'm going to close with this one last thing and then we'll roll out because we've gotten really long today, which has been fun. But y'all, their latest obsession is listening to the Star Wars soundtrack, which if you're familiar, there's no words. It's just, do you call it classical music?
I'd say it's very orchestral.
Yeah, or orchestral. So maybe if your kids are into Star Wars, that could be something fun that you could do on your car ride today is listen to some Star Wars music. There you go. Anything else to close with, babe?
I think we've got some more stories in our bag, but we'll have to save those for another podcast. Some more about Finn, maybe a little Dollywood hotel story, maybe a bathroom story in there as well, too. So there's a lot of good ones. For sure. Well, I feel like instead of calling this the marriage corner today, I should say thanks for joining us for the parenting corner. Y'all have an awesome Tuesday, and we'll see you next week. Okay, friend, that's a wrap on this week's episode. If you're not already following me on Instagram, make sure to screenshot this episode, share it to your stories, and tag @Healthy by Heather Brown so I can connect with you in my DMs. It truly brings me so much joy to see how these episodes impact you. Make sure to subscribe so we can see you back here next Tuesday for our weekly show. In case you don't know, your downloads, ratings, and reviews are the actual lifeblood of this podcast, and it helps spread the word to your friends and family. So please hit the download button on this episode and leave a 5-star rating if you super loved it. And if we're really BFFs, you'll spread the happy and text this podcast link to someone who needs to hear it today for some encouragement. Scroll down to the show notes on this episode to see any and all links mentioned, freebies to fuel your health goals, prior-related episodes, and the 7-day free trial of my exclusive membership where I personally coach and cheer you on in whole health. While you're there, make sure to check out my Amazon storefront with healthy snacks, my favorite look for less workout outfits, and books and devotionals that challenge me in my faith. If you ever need to find my Amazon storefront, just Google Healthy by Heather Brown Amazon, and it will come up. Have a great day, girl gang.